Hey everybody, welcome back to the Balanced Vibes podcast. I am your host, Kirsten. Today we're going to talk about when it is a good time to stop being a calorie deficit and stop trying to lose more weight and or more fat and or more weight. So when is it a good time for that? And even though the media tries to tell us otherwise, there really is a time and that would be most of your time, most of your life that you should be spending at maintenance, where your intake pretty much matches with your output so that you eat and then you burn pretty much the same. So you stay nice and balanced. You're not supposed to be always in a calorie deficit. And like I said, even though the media makes it look different, it makes it look like that's what we should be doing all the time. That's why there are so many diets. That's why there's all these magazines and things. When you're in the checkout line, you see it's everything about weight loss and the next diet and all that. So the idea is we're supposed to be, right, always trying to lose weight. And especially, I feel like as women, there's a lot of pressure. And I just don't think that this is healthy at all. And of course, I agree that if somebody has a weight loss and fat loss goal, this is a totally valid goal to have. There are a lot of people who literally need that also for their health, but why not also to look better? I don't think this is a bad goal either, at all. Sometimes people are telling me like, "Oh, I just don't want to say this, but actually really want to look better too." And I tell them there's nothing wrong about that. It's your right to feel good in your body and in your skin. But the thing is that this fat loss or this dieting and weight loss, it shouldn't be something that you do all the time. It shouldn't be like this is your lifestyle now. You're literally like jumping from one diet to the next because this is the only goal you will ever have. And this is also not healthy, right? It's not healthy mentally, it's not healthy physically. This is why I always talk about how I limit the duration of fat loss phase to a certain amount of weeks so that we don't cause like a lot of damage to the body. Unfortunately, not everybody does that. And a lot of people still diet. And over the years, they really create themselves a good amount of damage. It's not healthy for your thyroid, for your liver. Talked about it quite a bit on the podcast too. So the fat loss should always be pretty short and sweet and effective. And then you should, after a little while, come back up to your maintenance while still maintaining the results. So today we're going to talk about when is it then a good time to stop trying to lose fat, and not necessarily as much from the perspective of your physiology, because I feel like we have covered that quite a bit on this podcast already. Just to go over this real quick. So generally speaking, I don't like to keep anybody on a calorie deficit for longer than 8 to 16 weeks. Then there needs to be a diet break, and then we can do it one more time, and then it's time to wrap it up and go back to maintenance. So you already probably know that, or if you didn't, now you know that diet should be, that's how long your fat loss phase should be. But today I want to talk a little bit more about the psychological aspect of it, because of course, being in a calorie deficit or dieting also does something to your mental well-being and your social life and all that, right? So this is the side of things that we are going to discuss today. What are the signs that tell you that maybe it's time to take a break and give yourself a little bit more time to relax? So one thing that it's important to understand is that at first, when you first start your weight loss, it can be done in a relatively easy ways, right? So like I covered in episode 173 too, some people don't even need to track their macros necessarily. Some people get good results even when they are just starting to paying closer attention to what they're having. Maybe they're having less treats and sweets and chocolates, and maybe they cut out their weekend glass of beer or drinking during the week, whatever it might look like for somebody. So it's not hard at first to get the scale moving and get the things moving in the right direction if you currently are in a big calorie surplus, and just eliminating a couple of things will start giving you the results. But every next step though will take a little bit more effort, right? So then maybe you start tracking, maybe you start logging your food, and then you start tracking your macros, and then you get really specific with it. And of course, this is what I use in my work too. But if there is like somebody who wants to get to a very specific level, let's say it's a bodybuilder or like a physique competitor, they have to be even more strict, right? And so the idea here is that, when is it a time to stop fat loss or stop trying to lose fat is that, in my opinion, when what you need to do in order to get that result starts taking away from the rest of your life more than what you're willing to give. Because like I said, every next step, every, percentage of body fat down will take a little bit more effort. It's easy, it's okay, it's like doable at first, but then you want more, you have to tighten things up a little bit more. And you want more and you want to tighten things up a little bit more. So I personally don't work with those who are getting ready for, stage, for bodybuilding competition, any of that. I don't do that. I work with just the general population, people who want to get in a better shape. But I don't ever, I don't work with people who have a goal to get to like, 12% body fat or something like that, because to me, this is not really balanced anymore. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be doing this if this is your goal and this is what you want, and if your health is good and you can do it, go for it. But just for me personally, it's just a little bit too out of balance, and I don't think that an average, I don't mean average like you're, like any other, right? Not in that sense, but just like average person don't necessarily need that kind of approach, and don't necessarily need to take things that deep and take the dieting to that level. But there are people who do that, and if it works for them, fine. But it comes with a lot of sacrifice. So today, my points here, like how do you know that your dieting is maybe taking a little bit too much out of you and more than what you're willing to give? There are a couple of things that you can set as, like sort of like benchmarks, or like, okay, not necessarily benchmarks, but, things to kind of assess, am I willing to do this? So, for example, if your next level of leanness or next level of lower body fat percentage starts requiring things like not eating out anymore, then this is one place where you just have to ask yourself, okay, how much do I want this? Do I want that lower body fat percentage, or do I want to keep eating out? Because, like I said, if you have just like a generic like fitness goal, you want to lose a little bit, you can still keep eating out. You can still definitely have a couple of meals out every week, and that's totally fine. But now, if you want to take the things to the next level, then this becomes harder and harder. And then it may come to a point where you now cannot eat out anymore because you have a bigger goal, you have that certain body fat percentage goal in mind. So you just have to really think, is this what I'm willing to keep away? And if you're not, then maybe it's a good idea to stop dieting and say, hey, you know what? I want to live my life a little bit more. I don't want to go that extreme. Now, some other things, for example, if you like to have like a little sweet and treat, or maybe a drink on a weekend, then that too can become something that you cannot have if you have a very, very strict goal. If you want to get to the next level of leanness, that's getting pretty extreme. You just have to give up these things. And then again, now there's your place to ask, am I willing to do this? Am I willing to give up my daily chocolate or like a weekend glass of wine? And if you are okay with that, do it. But then if you feel like, okay, this is going to take away too much of my life, this is part of an enjoyment, this is something that I love to do and I don't want to let that go, maybe it's time that you let go of dieting then, right? For a little while. Then the next thing is that when you have this very specific goal and you want to lose more and more and more, then it may come to a point where now you just cannot take more rest days, or you just have to be doing certain workouts and there's no flexibility ever. You cannot, take it easier. You cannot skip a day. But then if then you have to ask, can I do this? Because regular person, average person, if they miss a workout day, it's not super big of a deal, as long as it's not a very consistent thing that happens all the time. They can take those rest days, and they can take spontaneous rest days too. I do it also sometimes. I feel like, okay, I didn't sleep well last night, or I don't feel fully recovered. I was supposed to do four workouts a week, but this week it's gonna look like it's gonna be just three, and I'm gonna be fine with it because I don't have that specific goal. I don't want to give away that freedom of taking rest days if I need them. That, by the way, doesn't mean at all being inconsistent with workouts. I'm very, very consistent with it. I'm just talking about, occasional things when things, you just may need a break. Then the other thing is traveling. It's difficult to travel if you are so strict. A bodybuilder before the show probably is not going to take a week off to go and travel. This is just not how it works because they have a goal to get lean, 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 right? And everything kind of revolves around that. And so if you now have a fat loss goal that requires that, you're tightening things up really, really hard because you want to get down like a little bit more. And now that means that you cannot travel, or because that's going to make mean like a week off from the gym, then you just can't do it. And again, I personally, I'm not willing to do it. Every time when I do travel, well, it depends, but I usually don't go to the gym. Last time we're traveling was just last week. Actually, we were 6 days in California, and I just don't work out there at the gym because I feel like it's a little bit too much work to find the gym and organize, do all the things. What I do, I just walk a ton, and then I usually actually when I'm traveling, I go running. I do run a couple of times a week when I'm traveling. This is exactly what I did in California too. But then if you have this very, very strict plan, you just can't take the time off, and you just have to be at the gym, and it's not, the you can't be kind of like spontaneous with it. But let me tell you, if you are just like you have some fitness goals, you want to be fitter, tighter, leaner, you don't have to be so obsessed with it, especially if you have already a lot of practice with working out. Your muscle is not going to go anywhere if you take a week off. But like I said, if your goal is something very, very strategic, you want to lose more fat and get down to even lower body fat percentage, this may not be a possibility for you. You just have to be at the gym. You have to be doing the workouts no matter what. And one more thing, and this may not be relevant for everybody necessarily, but it is for me. So I wanted to share this because I think maybe it is relevant for you too, if you are somebody who has in the past had hormonal issues, or kind of like has more sensitive hormones. Let's put it that way. So if you are pushing yourself super super hard and you have this goal to get really a low fat percentage and fit into like size zero or whatever the really small sizes out there are, then you are at very high risk of developing some kind of hormonal issues. And for me personally, I was there. I had amenorrhea for 10 years. Amenorrhea then means that you don't have a period. And I didn't have it for 10 years. And, I've talked about it a lot in my, it's like right now it seems like my past life because I don't really talk about it anymore. It's not a thing anymore for me. But yes, this is what happened. And now I have worked hard to get back to having normal periods that show up every month regularly. And even before I ever got amenorrhea at the age of 21, even before that, I didn't have regular periods. So they were still all over the place. Then 10 years of amenorrhea. Then I recovered from it in 2017, and I still had really irregular cycles. But it has been only recently, thanks to, really putting in the work and working with a practitioner, taking care of my nutrition in a really smart way, tracking my macros. Yes, this has been very helpful for my hormonal health as well. And now I'm at a place where I'm really proud of what I have accomplished, and it's like, oh, I actually have periods that show up every 30 days and are relatively symptom free. So for me, giving that up would not be an option. I'm not giving that away anymore because it has taken just too much effort to just throw it away. But that's a personal thing. I don't think that everybody has this issue. Although who knows? This is also something that a lot of people don't talk about. Period stuff, and a lot of the times the weight loss seems to be of bigger importance than hormonal health, although it should never be this way. So these are the signs that are telling you that, hey, maybe it's time to start taking it a little bit easier, or maybe it's not a good idea to take that next level on my fat loss journey. If you start taking away more from you, that what you're willing to give, if it looks like you're gonna really have to cut out all the sweets and snacks that you love, or that occasional glass of wine, or going out with people, seeing people. If you cannot take spontaneous rest days anymore because you really are strict with your workouts, and if it may start messing with your hormonal health. Although this is not, of course, psychological. This is more like a physiological thing. But if you notice that any of these things are happening, then just check in with yourself and ask yourself, is this worth it, or am I actually good here where I am right now? And a lot of times, actually, you're doing really great. It's the problem is that we are biggest critic, right? Our own biggest critic, and we don't often see that where we have come. It's already a lot, and what we have achieved already is already wonderful. And maybe this is okay to be where we are right now. Maybe that's totally fine. So I hope this episode helped you. Make sure to join my free Facebook group. You can find the link everywhere. You can find it in the show notes. You can find it in YouTube description. And also, please watch the next video as well and subscribe to my channel. And I would really, really appreciate if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast app that you leave a review there, because the more reviews, the easier it is for people to find it. Of course, if they're positive reviews. All right. So thank you so much for listening to this episode today. I am excited to hear your thoughts on it. And until next time.